Welcome back, everybody, to the Quake Pro League. I am 40 Lions, joined by Flea. And Flea, I don't know if you're a Bon Jovi fan, but we're halfway there.
Indeed, we are, but the best is most definitely yet to come. If the start is anything to go by, we've got some incredible games still in store. But before we get DJ Weed to join us for the final two featured matches, we've still got cha1n versus Zeniku, and that is an important matchup as well. I think both of these players are free from relegation. They don't have to worry about that one bit, but of course, they want and they envy that top 4 spot that's going to give them better seeding.
Yeah, top 4 spots again, get a first round bye. ZenAku has had a rough few weeks. The boys from SA kind of beating him up back to back. Nosfa into Maxter. Nosfa just, I don't know. Nosfa Maxter 3-0. ZenAku looking to bounce back. It's been rough. It's been rough to say the least. But, I mean, he's one of the people, one of the 2 that have taken a map off of Rafa. So clearly, ZenAku has what it takes. It's just a matter of working through whatever is going on in his game. Maybe the boys from South A just kind of know what to do to dismantle ZenAku, but we'll see if he could bounce back today against cha1n.
I mean, there's been a whole lot of debate in both the Quake community as well as the general financial and stock community at large, right? What do you do with your Zeniku stock? Is this just a temporary dip before this man is going to the moon, so should you hold? Or is it time for a panic sell? Personally, 40, I think Zeniku has got oodles of potential. He is taking it all the way. You gotta hold, you gotta stand strong, be loyal, because we have seen what this man can do.
Yeah, I think when it comes to any Quake player, we're all going to hold them deep in our hearts. Let's get into the pick bands and take a look. cha1n, of course, I mean, fantastic performance in the last stage. He's been dwindling a little bit, but still, like you said, not in relegation territory, nothing to really be too concerned about from a getting kicked out of the league aspect, but definitely not playing up to his potential. Runes of Sarnath, Deep Embrace for the first time today, Awoken. We got Scale versus Strog. Flea, you got your wish, as did DJ Weed. Keel versus Doom, and then Nyx versus Athena on Awoken. That is going to be high flying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I mentioned it before we went back live. We saw Zeniku join the lobby with Scale out, and I was like, oh, is this what we're gonna get? And indeed, it is. Scale versus Strog, that is going to make for a very interesting Ruins of Sarnath, and then Deep Embrace, we're gonna get the Keel. First time we're seeing Deep Embrace today, always a fun map. Keel, one of the absolute top champions played in this arena, but Doomslayer ain't no slouch either. The double jump, so powerful. And then, of course, to top it all off, Awoken, 2 light champions going up against each other. Not something you see every day in the Quake Pro League, especially not Nyx versus Athena, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, that's interesting on Awoken specifically. We'll see what happens on that one. But starting off, Ruins, Scale Bearer. Talk to me. How do you feel about that pick?
I love it. Love it. This is just one of those arenas where Scale really shines, right? The other is also Molten Falls, but Ruins is really the bread and butter of this champion. It just works and flows so nicely, so many opportunities to build devastating speeds and slam into your opponents. And we know that Zeniku, he loves playing with the big brawler champions. He loves those heavies. They're a key part of his arsenal. And so he is no doubt going to be super excited getting to play not only Scale, but then also Keel later on.
You think the peaker is going to be kind of a nuisance to that Scale? He's going to have to swat that fly?
Definitely, right? cha1n, I think the man is a master of his peaker. We've seen it many times before, and Ruins is also a map where Strog works out very nicely. Very layered, very vertical, many places where you can easily drop down, send the peaker right back up without exposing yourself to any danger. So I think we're in for a treat, but luckily for Zeniku, there is a railgun on this map, so he will be able to dispose of it quite quickly.
Yeah, I think ZenAku generally bases his game around the rail. Not super rail-centric like Sparty maybe or Kilson, but definitely likes to play around it. So interesting to see, you know, if he's warmed up, if he's going to hit some shots. Arguably going to be harder to track the Strog because of the Quake 4 movement. And this crouch slide, very mobile around the map, might make it a little more difficult for ZenAku. But it's my favorite time. Predictions. What do you got?
Looks like we're still waiting to set everything up. Got a few problems, but nothing too serious. We will be jumping into the game momentarily, so hold on to your horses. Don't go anywhere. 40. I think it's time for some predictions. Now, this time, for the first time today, I get to ask you first and put you on the spot. So
I thought I just
think?
asked you. How dare you? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like ZenAku's kind of on a downturn, and he's due to bounce back. So I feel like this might be the week against cha1n. It's not going to be easy, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be the one where he breaks out and says, you know what, enough is enough. I've gotten beat up 2 weeks in a row. And not just beat, but beat up. 3-0 back-to-back. That's rough. I feel like ZenAku is going to bounce back and take this one 2-1.
I think that's definitely a possibility, yeah. And you've been putting me on the spot too much, so I was just reversing. I heard you loud and clear for it.
Okay, that's fair. I was just am I getting ignored again? I feel like I'm visiting my family. Like, what is happening here? But yeah, no, that's fair.
I could never ignore you, but yeah, it is really exciting to see what Zeniku can bring to the table, right? Because if we look at his history so far, he's beaten some really solid players, right? He's taken down Dewey, he's taken out Effortless, Saigib, Dramis, he's taken that map of Rafa, so clearly he's had a very good stage. People extremely excited to see where he would take it. I think he was at one point top 3 NA in the rankings, but then the boys from the Americas, the South Americas in particular, right? Nosfa and Maxter both took him down a notch. And today is the time for Zeniku to put his money where his mouth is and show us that he really deserves to be among those top players in NA.
And we'll see if it's going to start off with the scale bear, if he's going to bull rush his way to a victory. cha1n is interesting because, again, we've seen him kind of have that dramatic increase in ability and finishing matches last stage. This stage, he's had those glimpses as well, but it's kind of hit or miss sometimes. At last stage, it was his point of contention was, I'm winning and I like winning, but I want to move more to like 3-0ing people, finishing my matches, finishing the sets. Now it seems like he might be struggling at times to even win some of these sets, so you got to wonder kind of what's going on there and what he needs to work on to try and get back to form, kind of.
I mean, step 1, wear the goggles, right, when he plays. I think that is
the
going
drip
to be
is never
key.
The problem. The drip has never been the problem. The man has drip. We all agree, right? He's out here like Dennis Rodman. I love it. But the gameplay, what's going on with the gameplay? I don't know.
I mean, I think he mentioned it during one of the interviews earlier this stage, right? That maybe he got a little bit complacent and he was doing so well in the previous stage that now he just hasn't really been putting in the effort and the focus that he needs to. And he's just been, you know, just going along the motions, doing well, not terribly at all, still in that top 5, top 4 NA. But just unable to put up the real sense of dominance that we had from cha1n during the previous stage, when we were really asking cha1n, is this man overtaking the hang? Is this going to be a permanent change where cha1n is now top 2 for the foreseeable future? So far, he hasn't really lived up to that hype, but today, taking on Zeniku is going to be a good moment for him to show what form he is in as we are approaching the finals.
Yeah, and again, cha1n and ZenAku sitting 4th and 6th, respectively. So cha1n is kind of holding on to one of those first-round buys. I'm sure he wants to try and make it set in stone. ZenAku maybe chipping away at that stone today if he could take this victory. So still a lot to play for. Those first-round buys are going to be super important going into the Stage 2 finals. Again, we're only about 3-4 weeks away from the stage finals. 3 weeks left in regulation after this day is done, and then I believe we have a bye, and then Stage 2 finals before you know it, Flea.
Indeed, we're coming towards the end of this stage rather quickly, and guys, thank you all for waiting. cha1n has joined us by now, and we are loading into the first map of this series, Ruins of Sarnath. Strog and Peaker being played by cha1n versus Zeniku and one of his favorite champions, the Scale Bearer.
I think it's going to be fantastic. We'll see. We'll see. Scale Bear, it could be bad against the Strog just because of the mobility, but I mean, just selfishly, I would love to see a bull rush kill. They're always great.
Yeah.
You gotta see him drop his shoulder and just get in there. But we'll see. It should be a tight matchup. We've already had 3 sets go to the 3rd map for the decider. This might be the 4th, Flea, but it all starts on Ruins between Strog and Scale.
I mean, if any man is going to be able to put up a Scale Bearer flatten kill, it is going to be Zeniku, one of the most gifted scale players in the world. As we are going through the countdown before jumping into the start of this series, kicking it off on cha1n's point of view, as he's taking on Zeniku, the man from down under.
A little bit of a skirmish there above rail, but nothing too crazy here as cha1n will claim the Mega. Heavy still up. Big delay from Zen here. And I like that. Usually you see the items pretty much in sync, but this gives a little bit of wiggle room for ZenAku if he wants to try and make a play on this next Mega, but cha1n heard that delay, and that's important as well.
Very passive opening. Neither player looking to really commit. Mega's about to spawn, and it is Zeniku who's got the better positioning. I like what cha1n's doing, though. Really good positional play right there. Cutting off the choke point, doing around 100 points of damage, burning away a lot of that Mega, and then having the heavy behind his back to just instantly fall back on. Looks like he's being a little bit blindsided, though. Didn't know that Zeniku was there. But Zeniku unable to make much out of it.
Hitting one rail and then backing off, and then trying to hit the drive-by rail, though. He's coming back for another one. The rocket will actually knock him off target and the rail, so decent damage here. cha1n trying to make it happen, but ZenAku holding his ground, cutting him off, drawing that line in the sand, saying, you're not going to get past me, taking that first frag and a free heavy.
Convincing start from Zeniku. Exactly the opening he was looking for, too. Rails being exchanged. cha1n proving to be relentless, even gonna push in with the LG.
Oh,
that
cha1n!
was, yeah, that was a bit too aggressive from Zeniku right there. If he had not taken that railgun shot before it, sure. But at that point, you just can't afford to blindly charge out into the open, because even if your charge connect, which it did, you just won't be in any good shape to take the subsequent fight.
cha1n clapping back, saying, I got a rail too. He's really poutine on the hurt. 2-1, 2 minutes in. Pretty slow game, all things considered. Good rail, though. ZenAku chipping away at whatever stack cha1n has, making him pay that rocket right on target there. And again, just rockets at every twist and turn that cha1n might take.
Damage is pretty much tight for the time being. Zeniku doing slightly better, but overall, wow, really close. Luckily for Zeniku, though, he lands the shots when he needs to the most.
Really good rails from ZenAku there. Now he has full map control. Big stack. cha1n really needs to try and get some rail damage. Wow, beautiful shot from cha1n there. Needs to do his best to chip away from a distance. Doesn't want to get too close, especially with the bull rush locked for ZenAku. And the split on the items is still fairly large too, giving ZenAku free reign to kind of path the way that he wants throughout the map. Being able to suss out exactly where cha1n might be, making sure that he gets to the item as safe as possible, but it looks like he's actually going to double back and catch out cha1n, but he doesn't get the damage he wants. Does get the item, though, but that could have been big damage for ZenAku, a missed opportunity.
That was a really clever play by Zeniku. He just realized that cha1n was not going to give up the peeker yet, trying to hold him down through that choke point, and so he just ran around as quickly as he possibly could with scale. Of course, very possible to build a lot of speed very quickly, but unfortunately, as you said, just unable to really do the damage.
That rail flying past the big old shoulder pads of Scale Baron. Wow, cha1n is just trying to brute force his way onto this. Will the LG be enough? No, it won't. The rockets take him down. cha1n went all in on that one, and he takes a rail off the bat. That'll even up the stacks here, so ZenAku can stand his ground. Another great rail, and cha1n is in a bad way right now. But the Mega is up, and it looks like ZenAku is going to have to concede, grabbing the outer courtyard 50 shard instead. So cha1n looking pretty good, but after that LG, looking pretty toasted right now. The Pika comes out to do some damage, still in flight there. ZenAku able to get this, and he is. The drop down, a little bit too overzealous there from cha1n, trying to steal away that heavy.
Yeah, definitely shouldn't have stuck around for that one. Looks like he will be able to secure the Mega, though. Zeniku definitely making the right decision to back off. Hang on, cha1n giving up so much room onto the Mega. Oof, that was a bit of a misplay by the Canadian. He just backed up all the way through teleporter, went all the way back down to the small armor, and in doing so, he just completely gave up positioning on the Mega, allowing Zeniku to slip on it. I think Zeniku was just like, oh, hang on, but Mega is open for me, well, I'll take it. Then he drops down, secures heavy, and now cha1n, even after coming out on top in that previous engagement, is now struggling.
Definitely in a bad way here as ZenAku grabs another Mega, just adding to this gigantic stack of Scale Bearer. Bull Rush in hand as well, and he's got the timing on the heavy, just making sure that cha1n is nowhere to be found. So this should be a relatively free pickup. You want to see cha1n try and do some rail damage here. He attempts to, but can't convert on the damage, and that is just one chunky Scale Bearer.
Always trouble going up against a heavy champion. When they build the stack, they are a force to be reckoned with. That doesn't connect! Zeniku falls just short, but unfortunately for cha1n,
Wow.
what? Oh, I could have sworn Zeniku would have been done for. By all accounts, he should be dead. The bull rush missing, and then just getting caught out by cha1n bouncing him sky high. But then he misses the follow-up rocket, and Zeniku somehow converts it into yet another frag.
Yeah, that was definitely not the execution Zen wanted. Somehow made it work, and very, very fortunate. But that definitely went horribly wrong for ZenAku on that play. Still up 3, though. 3:30 left in this duel. cha1n trying to make something happen after this mega pickup here. He's going to leave it up for the time being, try and drop down and do some damage on this heavy. That is a fantastic rail. And he's going to catch him up the jump pad, but ZenAku's so smart, making sure that he doesn't actually commit to it. Ooh, good rail from cha1n. He's stringing together the damage, forcing ZenAku to make all the right decisions here. And here's the chase from cha1n. Should be able to get another one, but that rocket pop actually delays him ever so gently. And that LG is going to be huge. Good play from ZenAku there to keep cha1n off his back.
I would have liked Zeniku to just wait a little longer with the LG. I think he could have absolutely pinned cha1n there, but he just sent him straight back down instead. And now cha1n is hurting so bad. That rail would have been a kill. Zeniku unable to finish it right there, but he doesn't need to. The stack advantage, the frags, everything is in his favor. If he can connect this one, he can't. So he just leaves. Yeah, if you can't connect, you just get out. And cha1n overzealous on the chase, exposing himself to 2 easy rails. And Zeniku is just not gonna miss those.
Just big rails there to keep ZenAku alive, and he's still staying alive. This is huge as he's burning time off the clock. Up 4. And if you can get a stack going and then just start trading damage, that's pretty much the ball game. cha1n will grab the mega. Does have the weaponry that he needs. Would love an LG as he's going to make his way over there, but now it's go time. 2 minutes left, 4 frags, and you're dealing with the Scale Bearer. This is a good start, but the Bull Rush, what the hell just happened?
Out of absolutely nowhere. Once more a frag for Zeniku, and I think that at this point, cha1n, he needs to find a kill within the next half a minute or he's done for. Should be able to do so right here. This might be the start of something. It's at the right time too. Mega has just spawned. cha1n will pick it up. 90 seconds for 3 frags. Absolutely possible. He just needs to avoid taking too much damage while keeping track of where Zeniku is at.
Oh! ZenAku with the fadeaway rail again, and cha1n just didn't swap to machine gun or anything else to try and finish that. ZenAku's still incredibly weak. He's going to get caught out at the eyeball. Can cha1n just land a rail? He's down by 4. The pressure's on, and he just can't land the damage he needs, Flea.
Zeniku, so clutch. 8 points of health, and I think that that one might just be sealing the deal. The rails aren't stopping yet, though. Zeniku. Most damage out of any weapon has been his railgun. Same goes for cha1n. It's actually cha1n doing 300 points damage more than his opponent has. But Zeniku, that stack, the item control, helped him secure this victory on map 1. I think the markets are rallying for the Zeniku stock is rising once more.
It very well may be. cha1n down by 4. This is probably how it's going to end. It may be one more frag either way, but ZenAku puts the first map in his pocket and does a great job. He didn't hit a high percentage of rails. He hit 34%, but the rails he hit were the clutch ones, the ones where cha1n was going in for the kill to finish the frag, and ZenAku just time and time again somehow made it work, got the frag. There's a great peeker play there from cha1n, but you know, it doesn't even matter, Flea. 7-4, ZenAku puts this one in his pocket. Starts off the series strong and just great play. Now, for those of you playing the home version, that was his server, if that matters to you. So, do with that information what you may. But, yeah, ZenAku takes map number 1.
cha1n, he didn't show up wearing the ski helmet, nor did he have the goggles at the ready for it, and I think that's a decisive factor in the mental game at the least.
Need the drip, just saying, need the drip,
man.
but yeah, just really well played there from ZenAku. I didn't think the Bull Rush was going to do as much as it did, but you got a couple good ones off, a couple flubbed ones, but still made it work. The ability to kind of salvage those situations was huge for ZenAku, as again, the scoreline wasn't that massive at all. It came down to kind of those clutch rails as he was backing away, and ZenAku just got the best of cha1n on this one.
Map 2 might be something else entirely though. First time today we're seeing Deep Embrace, which is of course the new map, or one of the new maps that have only recently been added to the pool of the Quake Pro League. Quite a few map stage hazards, to say the least. Keel is an incredibly strong pick on this one, so I am a little worried for cha1n.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you see Deep Embrace played, you know that Sync Air is somewhere lying in wait. As you posted, he gets stronger with every crater, and it's fantastic to see. cha1n on the Doomslayer, Keel for ZenAku. It's going to be rough. Doomslayer, again, the mobility, the ability to traverse the map at will might come back to haunt ZenAku, but he's got the stack to his advantage, and if he can keep playing around that rail, it's going to be maybe a similar situation to what we saw on map number 1. If he can hit those clutch rails and just keep cha1n out when he's trying to close in on the frag, it could be ZenAku's map again.
Giving Zeniku heavy champions is always such a risk, right? I mean, of course, cha1n can't always control this, and there's far too many heavies to ban them all. He did ban Sorlag going into the final map, but up until then, Zeniku, this is his playground. He gets to run scale, he gets to play skill. Not only does he get to play those two champions, but he also gets to play them on the maps that are respectively probably their best arenas too. So cha1n, yes, he's got the mobility, but looking at how the previous map went, Zeniku's aim was on point, a lot of damage output, great control of the items. Like I said, this is going to be a tall order for cha1n.
And the predictions are coming in. And it looks like ZenAku's stock is holding strong, Flea.
Yep.
It's evening out a little bit. Some people have faith in cha1n, as they should, because this could go either way. I, in fact, would probably give this map advantage a little bit to cha1n because of the Doomslayer pick, but we'll see. Again, I feel like it comes down to those rails, and if ZenAku's hitting those clutch rails to keep you out, there's not much you can do. If you want to go rail for rail, you got to convert. And with the stack for Keel, it's just never going to go in your favor, so we'll see.
Absolutely, this one could go either way, and I think a lot of people are hoping we're going to get another 2-1 series, with it all coming down to the final map, the decider, because it brings the hype and it raises the stakes so much. But before we get to that point, this is map 2, we're loading into it now. cha1n, can he turn things around? He has been inconsistent, to say the least, throughout this stage, after previously popping off during stage 1, even overtaking the hang in total points and earnings, finishing second in all of NA, and now he's been struggling against quite a few players. So Zeniku, can he rally once more after his 2 previous losses, or is this one going to go in cha1n's favor? We're about to find out.
Yeah, definitely coming out of 2-3-0s is going to be huge, and ZenAku off to a good start. I think we're running into some technical difficulties, fam. So let's have a chat. Let's talk about our feelings. Yeah, big map win for ZenAku. I think cha1n has the ability to come back on this one just based off the picks alone. But again, I feel like it might come down to rails. If ZenAku can hit those clutch rails to keep cha1n out, as we saw on map number 1, when he wanted to kind of aggress and make sure that, hey, this frag is mine, ZenAku hit everything he needed to. Not a high percentage, but a solid percentage of defensive rails to keep him in the game. cha1n might even play around, blocking off rail. Again, once you get fragged, it's kind of a death sentence to go straight for rail, depending on where you get killed in the map. So maybe that plays into it as well.
That's something that I've seen Zeniku get burned several times in that position, right? You get fragged, you run for the railgun, and your opponent they've got your number. They know what you're doing. Luckily, Zeniku's playing Keel, so he's got that higher base tag, making him much more tanky when it comes to these opening engagements. But still, it is indeed something to keep in mind. This is just going to be a battle between the mobility versus the stack and the damage. I do wonder, are we going to see a Berserk 40? I don't think we've seen one popped today. Will cha1n be the first one to use that active ability, or what do you think?
I feel like it may be a good finisher if, you know, a fight gets too crazy and sloppy up close. Maybe the punches are going to come out to try and deck ZenAku and take the lead, or maybe get a frag off of him, but that is something that we need to be concerned about in terms of the vials, right? Keel can already stack up his passive off ammo boxes. If he gets the vials as well, it's kind of like the Doom pick was pretty much solidly for the movement ability and not so much his active ability. But it never hurts to throw some punches and get inside, you know, your opponent's head. We've seen Rafa do it plenty of times where right off the spawn, he hits a rail and he's like, I'm going to get in there with my fists and I'm going to finish this. So that might be the case, but against Akil, it's going to be a lot harder because of that stack.
Yep. And that's really one of the ways that you can use the Berserk though, right? Because by popping it, you essentially overwrite the reload time for these weapons, so that allows you to land a rail and then immediately go into the punch before your opponent can fire once more. Looks like we have sorted out the issues and are jumping into this second map, cha1n's point of view. He gets the rail spawn. I wonder if we're going to see some weapon denial from the start, because that's something that very commonly happens on Corrupted Keep and Deep Embrace as well. cha1n might not want to give up the railgun at all, and he's just gonna sit on it and try to prevent his opponent from getting access. But it looks like he is not that interested in it and contents himself with just doing a bit of damage.
Does give up the rail, but does get a rail as punishment, but still no LG or rockets for ZenAku. Nice slow play here. ZenAku's able to claim the heavy and just massive stack, just like that. Keel, such a big boy.
That's a man who ate his vegetables growing up, chat. You better do the same. Listen to your mommy. You can be big and strong like Keel.
Agreed.
Nice little delay on the items though. Zeniku delayed that heavy a significant amount, so now there's around 10 seconds between them. If he gets the upper hand, cha1n is unlikely to know that heavy, or rather that Mega has been delayed, and so he might make a move on it. Let's see, Zeniku has got the low ground. Mega just spawned, still hesitant to make a move for it. Good play from cha1n, rails are on point. I love how he's just leaving Mega up, knowing that he's so fast that he can get to it on time. He just wants more damage.
Yep, wants to just hunt ZenAku right now. That rocket, not enough damage for him. I know that he wanted that to be a bigger pop. Both players will grab their respective item here as cha1n still looking for these rails, keeping a distance, doesn't want anything to do with that citrus. Doesn't matter how much scurvy he may be suffering from. As ZenAku, again, the stack is just so big on that Keel. The tri-bolt from a distance not connecting cha1n. Still very, very patient, playing it right. What a rocket into a rail, and that's huge damage.
Nice rockets as well. Zeniku forced to back away, but cha1n will catch him off guard and secure the first frag of this map. This is looking good for cha1n. Heavy will go his way. Mega will be picked up by Zeniku. And now cha1n knows he's got the weapon advantage. Zeniku doesn't have a rail, doesn't have a rockets, and cha1n wants to make good use of that advantage in terms of the arsenal.
And I just love the way cha1n is playing this. He's not getting crazy. He's not getting too close at all. Doesn't want the pineapples to even be a factor in this. So he's going to melt the stack from far away, try and punish on whatever weapons he can. Almost sends him off the map, but it doesn't matter. Follows up through the telly and gets his second frag.
The mobility helping out tremendously, it seems. And I like how cha1n is playing this now. He's just sitting on that center area of the map, knowing very, very well that he can jump around, get out very quickly. And this is such a powerful position to control. He can dictate the pace of the game, deny at least the heavy, but be so quick to make his way over to Mega as well. And Zeniku is struggling to find a way in.
cha1n with a great rail, almost hits with the follow-up. Now he's going to drop down, and there's the pineapples. Big, big damage now from ZenAku. Instead, 35 HP for cha1n as he's struggling to survive. He's trying to decide if he wants to do damage on the Mega, but he knows he needs to escape and try and stack back up. 85 HP, still railable. Just dodging the pineapple so close. cha1n doing a great job of staying alive, even though he has to give up the items. He's trying to stack back up off the 50 shards, just waiting patiently. And yeah, escapes with his life. Very, very well done from cha1n there, but he's definitely on the back foot.
Zeniku might convert this into some solid control. But this is still a very slow and disciplined game. Deep Embrace has been home to some of the highest scoring games in the Quake Pro League, but so far we're only seeing 2 frags in a little over 4 minutes. And cha1n is being so patient, so calculated right now, because he knows that if he gets caught out in a bad spot just once, he is in trouble. The damage, the stack, the pineapples, he cannot compete with that. And so he knows that this positional plays need to be on point.
Yeah, just really well done. You could tell that cha1n has had a game plan for this, and he's executing it to perfection. Now, it does take a lot of damage here. He does grab a 50 shard again to try and stack back up, but he's okay with just living off these. As long as he can hit the rail and run and just make sure that ZenAku can't close this distance, cha1n is more than happy to just play this way.
And it looks like it's working out for him too. He knows that he's got a, I don't want to say a sizable lead, but it's a workable one. And all he needs to do is keep collecting the items and outmaneuvering his opponent. This is good for Zeniku though. That's a lot of unexpected damage. Now cha1n looking for a way out, trying to dance, dodge, and duck beneath those shots. That rail will connect. Luckily there's plenty of health bubbles around, but he will have to give up mega control once more.
And that's kind of the problem with this playstyle as well, too. cha1n isn't really damaging on every item. He's just playing passive, trying to keep distance, trying to live off the 50 shards. The issue with that is, once ZenAku does get in, he's so strong, and if cha1n can't do a lot of damage on the way out, then ZenAku runs the risk of just running the spawns on cha1n and adding, adding 3 frags on this map is easy. So cha1n has to hold on for dear life for this first frag, because it could just be a downward spiral into his defeat here. As the rocket jump coming up, ZenAku, you could tell, getting a little bit impatient, but he's trying to make it work. 97 HP for cha1n, out of rail range, but ZenAku still hunting.
Hungry for frags. But this is just textbook out of control play by cha1n right now. This is so difficult to do against the player with the aim that Zeniku has, with the stack that Keel offers. And Zeniku is just running the items, but he's not finding his opponent. Now, luckily for him, there's still plenty of time left, right? There's 3.5 minutes to work with, so no rush just yet. But he has to start picking up the pace and catching his opponent sooner rather than later. This should be his fight, and indeed it will be. Zeniku, the rail, piercing the air and taking down his opponent. 1 frag of a difference. I think that cha1n, realizing that he can't keep playing this game forever. Hang on! Oh my god, Zeniku ran out of LG, and that almost gave cha1n the opportunity to run away with the frag. But nevertheless, it will be a tight game.
So much damage from cha1n, but just couldn't convert. So close. But just like that, in a blink of an eye, ZenAku has tied it at 2. And that's the risk that cha1n was running with that playstyle, not really showing up to damage items, not really taking control of the game, rather than just trying to hold out the 2-0 and play kind of this defensive turret style. And there's still 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. cha1n drops down, tries to get the drop on ZenAku. Nothing doing as he backs off to concede the mega fully.
Extremely tense for the map that is Deep Embrace. 2-2. And both players are well aware that any next frag could be the last one. Zeniku knows that if he loses the lead, or rather the tied game once more, it will be very difficult to chase cha1n down in those final few minutes. Similarly, cha1n knows that if he ends up on the back foot, he has a lot of stack to deal with.
That's such a beautiful flick rail there, as cha1n is going to go up and he's going to press the situation with LG. Has the stack advantage here, and ZenAku on the back foot needs to be very careful, just getting out of rail range. With that bubble going up the jump head, and just like that, extremely weak. ZenAku has to make a choice. Do you want to push and try and do damage, or do you want to get taken out? It doesn't matter. cha1n makes the choice for him. Takes him out right off the spawn. The LG pressure relentless from cha1n, and he hits the rail, and ZenAku's in a bad way right now, and cha1n takes him out again, and this is how this snowballs. ZenAku going straight for the rail, does get it without taking damage, but he's only got 1:10 to get 2 frags, Flea.
He needs to start landing those rails. There we go, a little pineapple to boot as well, but still Zeniku somehow ends up worse. Oh no! He rocket jumped to get up onto the heavy, and that allowed cha1n to do a bit of chip damage with the rocket. And that was all he needs, around 30 points of damage. And now Zeniku, what can he do? Not much, it seems, 40.
Does hit a pineapple. If he can somehow make a move onto this Mega, he does. cha1n is weak, but the hunt has to be on. Less than 30 seconds, just about 30 seconds, to try and kill cha1n 3 times. I don't know about that one, Flea. We saw him play defensive so well for so long, and he's just taking everything. There it is around the corner, but 20 seconds. Can ZenAku string together some frags? And you got to think that if you're cha1n, you're just going to chill. You're good. Use that respawn time. Relax. Kick your feet up. 10 seconds left. ZenAku down by 2. And again, as we've seen all day, we're going to the third map as the decider.
I'm loving it, 40. I really am. It is so good to see how tight and tense these games are, as we really are running it all the way till the very end. It will be decided once more on Awoken. I'm loving it. I really am.
Isn't that bad luck? I feel like, I don't know. Yeah, no, fantastic play from cha1n to be able to play hyper defensive, have his game plan, and say, you know what, I'm going to get the frag lead, and this is how I'm going to play. I'm going to chip damage with the rail, but I'm not going to overcommit to any item. I'm not going to get caught out by your pineapples, completely negating your ability and just making you this huge, gigantic tank, which after a couple rails doesn't really mean much. So it almost came back to haunt him, because again, once you give up and once that defense breaks down, ZenAku has the ability to push, especially if he gets a clean kill with the stack that Keel can have, and especially on a map like this, the spawn frags can just go rampant, but cha1n hung on, did really well, and I just really like the execution of his game plan.
Indeed, cha1n played that to perfection, just that keeping his distance, allowing that extra double jump, the mobility, the ability that he's got to just completely outmaneuver his opponent at every single turn. It was the battle of brawn versus the speed and the agility, and cha1n just very slow play, and then towards the end, the damage just became too much for Zeniku to really deal with, and it snowballed into a convincing victory for the Canadian. But there is one more map. 40. One more map that it's going to come down on, and that will be Awoken. And this one, you talked about it before we even started, right? This is going to be a hype series because 2 light champions. Nyx versus Athena. I think one of the most unusual champion matchups in the Quake Pro League. I really can't even remember the last time we saw this.
I don't know if we have seen a Nyx versus Athena. It's definitely not common. It's interesting to see, and I wonder if it's going to be more of a defensive style like we just saw in Awoken, or if it is going to be high-flying. At first I thought it was just going to be high-flying action, but now that cha1n has kind of established that he could play a very defensive, slow game, I wonder if it's going to happen. But, you know, cha1n on the Athena, he's kind of crazy. He's not afraid to go high-flying and fast-paced, and he wants to set the tone, so we'll see how he plays it. But I think regardless, going to a map number 3 for another decider just shows how close these matches are, how good these players have gotten over time, and it's just, we're spoiled, Flea. We're spoiled.
I mean, this really is a map that allows both of these champions to make the most out of their abilities, right? Nyx with the wall jump works so well around the center area of the map, but then this is also a perfect area for Athena. So many places where that hook works nicely. You can just do the little loop-de-loop all the way over from heavy towards mega. So much speed you can build. So this is a playground for both of these light and fast champions, and I can't wait what we're going to get for this matchup.
Yeah, very excited. And the Ghost Walk almost, to me, feels like a non-issue, because if Athena catches a glimpse of you with that hook, the speed that she can acquire, she could be, you know, on those cheeks in 0.01 seconds. But we're in the game right now, live, map number 3, the decider between cha1n and ZenAku.
Starting it off on cha1n's point of view, the man who won the previous map, getting both of the items. That is one of the reasons why Athena is so strong. Look at the stack advantage he's already got to work with.
ZenAku has to be so careful right now. There's the hook through. Good LG. Unreturned damage as well, so cha1n can just keep up this pressure. He's going to cycle these items yet again. You gotta hope that ZenAku can get at least a little bit of something in terms of damage on this heavy, but he's nowhere to be found. Stays away and just grabbing that 50 shard that cha1n was at.
Zeniku now basically replicating what we saw cha1n doing on the previous map, right? Out of control play, patient, calculated, surrendering all of the major items to his opponent, and just hoping to land 1 or 2 good rails to open up an opportunity.
Ooh, big rocket there. ZenAku in a bad way. Does grab the 50 shard to get out of rail range. Trying to tri-bolt and land some damage. And cha1n just doing a good job of avoiding most of it. Another cycle for cha1n. As ZenAku has no major items to his name. 4 small armors. And that's it. And that is a rough start for ZenAku.
It's impressive that this is still a tight game. Look at the damage output. 120 points of damage for cha1n, 87 for Zeniku. I think this might be the lowest damaging Awoken I've seen in ages. Zeniku finally slipping in some more damage with the tri-bolt, and now actually in a position for Mega as well, but he has to be careful because cha1n just picked up the heavy as well.
I like that fadeaway tri-bolt. I like that rocket to the face even more, but right on time with the Mega. Here's the Ghost Walk. The aggressive play is going to be enough.
Nice.
50 HP after that for cha1n. cha1n in a bad way now, missing with the rails. ZenAku's going to push. There's the shotgun, but it's not enough. The buckshot doesn't stop there as ZenAku takes that frag.
That worked out so nicely for Zeniku. Oh, the rail!
Wow.
Absolute overkill for that sliver of health that his opponent had left, but he makes it work. And I'm loving the mirror we're seeing, 40. If you compare this to the previous map, cha1n slow playing it from behind, and now it's just Zeniku doing the same thing with a mad rail. The combo kills. cha1n full control for the opening 2 minutes, and now Zeniku right back in the driver's seat.
These defensive rail finishes that we saw on map number 1 are just so incredible from ZenAku. It's just insane. He's so clutch, he's so calm, and he hits all the rails that he needs. The clutch rails, man, I can't stop. The defensive plus back clutch rails that are saving his life time and time again. Flea, like, what do you do against that? Every time you try and close in, it's just GG.
50% railgun accuracy on an Athena of all champions. Now that is indeed impressive, and cha1n most definitely struggling with it.
Oh, such a chunky rocket, and cha1n really wants this frag. He's pushing through, trying to chase, does have the stack, and ZenAku somehow staying alive, doesn't have the Ghost Walk for another 15 seconds, so he's in the danger zone.
He's feeling it. The highway 40, he's on it, he's on it. But it looks like cha1n will secure the heavy again. So we're basically back to where we started. cha1n full control, nice rotation. He's also the faster of the 2 champions by using that hook. And Zeniku using that Ghost Walk so effectively. Nice, getting behind his opponent, and that works so well against another light champion, because 1 rocket on a squishy champion like Athena, that's just basically her entire stack gone, even if she's picking up items.
And again, I don't know how ZenAku's alive, because he needs to play this very carefully. The rail will miss, and he's going to grab 225s and get out of rail range, especially with that 50 shard. More importantly, grabbing those vials to try and get Ghost Walk back as soon as he can. It looks like he survived 3-0 for at least half of this duel, Flea.
Sure feels like it. Zeniku just looked at how cha1n played the previous map, and he was like, you know what, I can do that too. And I'll prove it to you. And he did in the very next map. Zeniku, so calculated, such a nice slow game. But there are risks involved though. Giving up so many major items, if you drop a frag without doing much damage when you're Zeniku, you're in so much trouble. cha1n gets the read, and this should be a frag for the Canadian. Mega
5
right there.
HP.
Yeah, luckily for him, the Mega is there to keep him nice and healthy. But now Zeniku had positioning on the heavy, but didn't have the weapons to take the fight. So he's taking this opportunity to go over to the LG, the rockets, and get himself stacked up, rather than just throwing himself on the next item.
ZenAku just wants to eat as much time as possible, not only because he has the lead, because he doesn't have Ghost Walk, and he wants that so badly. It's cha1n denying the vials in the banana, using the hook. Why not just use one, burn one, and ZenAku does have Ghost Walk again. So still the 2 frag lead, 4 minutes. cha1n has to be perfect here as he flies through. 5 HP! And ZenAku, wow. The patience to not use that Ghost Walk, to not assume that cha1n is going to try and chase through that.
Really is one of the most difficult parts about playing Nyx well, right? We very often see players who hang on to the Ghost Walk too long, and then by the time they pop it, they're left with 5 HP. So even if they do survive, they are so screwed for the next few rotations. But then sometimes players, they are very quick on popping the item as well, and then their opponent essentially burns away their ability for free. So Zeniku played that very nicely. Real patient and careful plays. Oh. cha1n zipping alongside of Zeniku, didn't quite catch sight of him on time.
What
and
a rocket.
Yeah. And the Ghost Walk coming out on time as well, but not enough to get through the teleport.
That's just brutal. And there it is, the tying frag, and again, that style of play, that's what happens when the defense crumbles, especially as a Nyx. It's just so hard to regain your footing at all. No! And cha1n sends him flying off the map, and he takes the lead 4-3. ZenAku is in a world of hurt right now.
That's the risk of playing such a passive game. It works better on Nyx than on most because you've got that get out of jail free card. The Ghost Walk so effective at avoiding your opponent, but when that runs out, then what do? If you keep giving up all the megas, all the heavies, cha1n is just building a tremendous stack right now, and Zeniku trailing behind, no longer railable, but again, in no position to make a move on heavy.
There's the hook. Oh, the rocket's so strong as cha1n takes down ZenAku again. 2 minutes left. And the rail off the spawn, he should be able to finish just a little bit of a tickle. Nyx does not have the stack to take this kind of punishment, and this is probably going to end up as the cha1n show. I don't see a world in which ZenAku could pull this back. It's going to take a really, really fantastic series of shots. There's one. Can he get another one? He has to go 2 for 2. Unfortunately, on the jump back, we'll miss it. There's the third, but the heavy is taken and cha1n is out of there.
I am inclined to agree with how this has been going. I just don't see any way in which Zeniku can catch his opponent. Even if he secures full control, cha1n will cleverly position himself in places where he can use the grapple hook to the greatest effect. Doesn't even need to use it to get out, will just add on even more frags to the pile. And I think that this will be done and dusted. Zeniku just in no position to pressure, and time is not on his side. The clock is kicking down. And I think cha1n is set to take this one 2-1.
And it would take an absolute miracle, but I don't know. I don't see it happening unless he can string together some amazing rails, but cha1n is just going to be way too cognizant of that ability. Doesn't want to give anything up. Anything can happen in the arena, and you want to make sure that you minimize all of the risks here, as he just needs to survive for another 30 seconds here. ZenAku pushing in, taking rocket damage, hitting 2 great rails, but cha1n says nope, 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 absolutely not.
I'm just looking at the item pickups for the first time. cha1n has picked up 34 major items. Zeniku has secured 2. 2 total. 1 mega, 1 heavy. That's it. That just shows the absolute supremacy that cha1n established on this map, leaving absolutely nothing for Zeniku. Of course, part of that was Zeniku's game plan, but when it goes wrong badly, and that's exactly what happened here. Congratulations to cha1n. Another really close series, could have gone either way, but I think Zeniku was just a bit too passive in this final map.
Yeah, it's a shame to see because it was such a close set and you want to see ZenAku do well, but cha1n was just stronger. He was just so strong on this map. As you said, the item control was absolutely nuts. And I don't think he's sorry. I don't. I really don't. It was Fantastic play from cha1n. The problem is that when you play with the Nyx, you kind of have to get momentum in your favor, and you could snowball, and you have the ability to kind of press your luck. But when you're only, you know, playing off the scraps, so to speak, and the small armor shards, and you're using your Ghost Walk, and you have this Athena that could just chase you down, and it's just so brutal to play from behind as a Nyx, and, you know, ZenAku just couldn't do it.
He put in a lot of effort though. That second map, that's where it all started going wrong. He had a really good opener. You could tell that cha1n threw everything he had at Zeniku. Didn't work out in map 1, but he stayed calm, he stayed collected, played his strengths in map 2, perfect mobility positioning by using, of course, the Doomslayer. And then on the final map, the speed allowed him to pick up every single item time and time again. And Zeniku played a really nice Nyx for most, if not all, of that matchup, but in the end, he just couldn't contest with that difference in stack and resources.
Yeah, and ZenAku, unfortunately for him, down in a hole. I don't know if he can escape. That's the 3rd week in a row where he drops. That's rough. That's a rough road. But shouts to cha1n. I mean, he didn't even need the drip this time. The boy came out and he did the job. So
absolutely.
Big shouts to him. And more importantly, we went to a 3rd map again. And with the last 2 sets we have, I don't expect any less. But we are going to take a break. We'll be back with the 2 featured matches, so don't go anywhere. I'm going to butter this beard. Flea is going to make sure that he's got his parka on so he doesn't get wet. And we'll see you guys soon.